Hi friends, I am Angela, and today I'm gonna read as many spooky books as I can. It is already, a week into October, and I am far behind in reading all of the spooky books that I want. I love this time of year. This is my favorite, and I think that I would like to spend today just reading as much as I can. We're working with sunlight today. It's all over my face. I don't care. It's great. But sorry for this weird angle. I just didn't really want to pull out my ring light because the sunlight is so nice. I have a combination of graphic novels and short stories that I would like to read today. I'm going to talk about them and preface it by saying I know next to nothing about these books. I really think that especially with short stories, I really like to go in without knowing the plot so that you can just have it revealed to you. So the ones that I'm interested in reading today are We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, which all I know about it is that it's a family in a house. I know absolutely nothing. I don't know if it's supposed to be horror, mystery, thriller, but it looks creepy, and I've had this book for years because I thought that it was a really good looking book for Halloween, and also I know Shirley Jackson is an iconic classic horror writer, so interested in this one. I also am interested in Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. All that I know about this book is that I think a mother loses her son, and when she goes to the place where he died, somehow something happens to where he might potentially be able to come back, but it might be going in a bad way. So I feel like this one's going to be quite emotional, dealing with a lot of loss and grief. So I'm a little nervous about this one, but I'm just so interested in the premise that I'm really excited to read this one. Another book that I have on ebook is called Sour Candy by Kaylin Patrick Burke. I have no idea what that is going to be about. I don't know if it's paranormal or not. It seems very strange, but I'm interested in figuring it out. It's another short story. Then I have a handful of graphic novels that I've always seen around, and I've seen the beautiful art on the cover, but I have no idea what it is. So I just want to read them and know what they are, and they all kind of have things that remind me of Halloween. So the first one is The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag. And this one seems to be about a boy who wants to learn witchcraft, but he's a boy. And then the book Sheets. It is a graphic novel by Brenna Thumler. I have seen that cover everywhere. It's a little sheet ghost in a washing machine or a dryer. I love ghosties. I call them ghosties. Ghosts. Cute little sheet ghosts or ghosts in general. Those are my favorite. I have this little plushie where you turn it inside out and it's an angry ghost. This is just my favorite. I love cute little ghosties. So I want to read Sheets and figure out what that graphic novel is. And then I wanted to read more Stephen Graham Jones because he has quickly taken one of the top spots of my favorite horror authors with The Only Good Indians and My Heart is a Chainsaw, both being 5 stars. Absolutely loved them. And as an audiobook, there is Night of the Mannequins, and that's only about like 2.5 to 3 hours if you don't speed it up. So I would love to listen to Night of the Mannequins. I'm saying I would love to. So here's the thing. I know this is the first time I am checking in with you, but I've already read 3 books so far today. Not on purpose. So I woke up and I didn't want to get out of bed yet. So I pulled up the graphic novel Sheets and I went through that. And then I was like, well, the sequel Delicates popped up. Why don't I read the sequel as well? So I read Sheets and I read Delicates, and I'm so happy to finally know what these graphic novels are about because, as I said, I've seen them everywhere. Overall, my thoughts are that they were just okay for me. I really applaud the author tackling a lot of serious and important topics, especially if this is geared for a more young adult or early teens. The characters were in the 8th grade, so I think that this could be really good for that age. It is obviously targeted for that age. I almost am not sure if graphic novels are really my favorite format to read stories. I feel like I don't get as invested. And so Sheets ends up being about a girl who works at a laundromat that their family owns, and she has lost her mother and is trying to cope with that loss and what it's doing to her family, and dealing with not having many friends at school and not really feeling like she's a part of other kids her age. She's just kind of off on the outside trying to make the laundromat work. And there comes some conflicts along, and there also comes a little sheet ghost. And I thought that that was really cute. I love the sheet ghost, of course. Delicates, the sequel, I think tackles an even heavier topic, but is also very important for kids that age. I would rather not say what that topic is because it builds up to it. So I feel like saying what it is would kind of give away the journey of figuring out what is truly going on and what the point of the story is. So overall, I think that they were really good. I thought that it was pretty cute. As I said, I'm a big fan of the ghosts, and I would be so curious to see what what would that be, junior high, early middle school, late middle school student or child would say about this story. So I can't wait to read those reviews. So that was 2 down before I even got out of bed. Then I have these waterproof, they're not AirPods, it's waterproof little headphones, right? The ones that just go into your ear without the top, so that I can listen to audiobooks while I take a shower, because I don't like playing it out loud on my phone. I live in an apartment. I don't want it to have to be that loud and have my phone that close to the shower. So Bluetooth waterproof earbuds. I started to listen to Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones, and I didn't stop. I was supposed to read it all day long as I was doing things, and I didn't turn it off. I could not stop listening to it. In true Stephen Graham Jones fashion, his books are unputdownable to me. I just keep wanting to follow along and figure out where he's gonna take this story. So I finished it all at once. Night of the Mannequins is not something that I think you should know much about going in. I truly think that this one would be better off just listening to it. The opening premise, to kind of get you to try to be curious about what's going to happen, is that there is a friend group and they're all in high school, and they decided to play a prank on one of their friends who works at a movie theater by bringing in this mannequin that they had found and played with throughout the summers and pretending that it's a moviegoer. And Sawyer, the main character, then watches them check the ticket with no problems, no shock at, oh, that's a mannequin, not a person. And then at the end of the movie, he watches them stand up and walk out. And might not have the best of intentions for this friend group, this mannequin. Yeah, it's definitely along the line of horror, thriller, and I just think that's all you need to know about it. Go in and enjoy that story, because my goodness, I'm not going to rate the graphic novels. I'm not the target age or audience for them, so I don't think that that would be fair. But Night of the Mannequins, what can you say when you just have to sit there and make up things to do so that you can keep listening to this audiobook? I am trying to talk myself out of giving it 5 stars for some reason, because I've already given My Heart is a Chainsaw and The Only Good Indians 5 stars, and I'm like, am I just doing this because I love his books? I don't know, but like, I don't have any problems with this story. There's nothing I would change. It was shocking. It was intelligent. It was so it's what you would want a book to be. That's a short story. I could not believe that so much was put into the short story. It was so fleshed out. It was not what I was expecting. And I had first thought, oh my gosh, a mannequin coming to life. This is going to be obviously creepy, yes, but also like, is this really going to be my type of horror? But man, he just never fails me. He never fails. If anything, maybe 4.5 stars, because I didn't quite like it as much as I liked The Only Good Indians. But that's the thing, I don't think all 5 stars are at the same exact level for me. I think that 5 stars can be just that I thought it was perfect. I wouldn't change anything. I thought it was brilliant. And I think that this falls under that category. I would give this 5 stars as well. So 4.5, 5 stars, I'm gonna probably mark it as 5 because perfection. I don't know what I would do differently. A great horror read. So I've already finished my phenomenal Starbucks drink. This is a brown sugar oat milkshake and espresso with vanilla sweet cream cold foam on top. I would have this every single day if I could. It's so good. It's my all-time favorite. And now that I'm finished with it, I'm sad because I love having drinks while I read. And I am about to now have my first physical book of the day because I have now read 3 short stories. Well, no, sorry. A graphic novel, another graphic novel, and then a short story. And I want to do a physical book. So between these two, I'm trying to decide because on the one hand, I just read kind of like potentially, you know, paranormal, wild things, and this might be similar to that. And this seems more almost, maybe I'm wrong. I have no idea what this is about, but this seems a little more low-key than that. Maybe a little less dramatic. I hope I don't eat my words because it could be, but I am very interested in what this is about. Am I ready for more of a slower read? This is a really hard decision. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna read the first couple sentences of each book and see which one I'm most interested to start. Okay, that was an interesting first page. Now let's read this first page. Okay, so they both are really interesting from the start. I think I want to try to stick with a fast pace right now, and that will probably be this one. I think that this one might be a little more intense and dramatic than this is, so I'm gonna read this one while I am ready to like go really quickly with these books, and then I think what I'll do is I will either go sit on my balcony or walk on our treadmill while I read this one so that I kind of like get myself going and enjoy it more by doing those activities. Whereas in this, I don't really need to do anything to, how do I explain this? I have a hard time focusing in books. So that's why I tend to lean more towards fast-paced books because they keep my attention. And so if it's not fast-paced, I can utilize other things like being in a cozy setting on my balcony or walking on my treadmill and reading at the same time, doing things that will keep me focused on it. And right now, I think that this one will be the right choice. And then I plan on doing this one as well today. I really want to at least get these 2 done if I don't get to any others. Because I've had this one on my bookshelf for I think a year. And this one I just got, but I'm really eager to read it. Okay. Let's go. I am 42 pages in. I'm on chapter 9 of Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. And this is rough. I expected it to be because it is about a mother losing her son. And the desperation when she thinks that there's a way to be able to get him back and see him again. As I had said, he died at a crossroads in a car accident, and she keeps visiting that location where she keeps a cross up. And one day she had accidentally been bleeding, and the blood soaked in near the cross where he had died, and that night she saw him outside. Because of that, she has to keep giving offerings if she's going to see him again. And that is so difficult to read about her doing. Content warning for that, if that is something that would be especially not okay for you to read about. That is kind of a big part of this story. What I am enjoying about this story is that you have this sense of foreboding, and also the question of, is this actually her son, or is it some type of evil entity or demon that is using her offerings? I've got more than half of the book to go, so I'm honestly surprised that there's going to be so much left, because I feel like the main point of what's going on has already been happening. So I'm eager to see where this is going to go. That's why I bought this book. I had already heard the plot summary that I just gave you from other booktubers who'd read it, and that was why I bought it, because I wanted to see where the author went with this. I have that basic premise that I know about, but what is going to be the outcome? And I really hope that it works out in a good way for the mom. I'm nervous because technically it is like a paranormal, potentially horror. I don't know if it actually categorizes as horror, but it's just a lot of real life sadness mixed with something more going on that we don't know quite yet what it is. I just finished Crossroads by Laurel Hightower, and I feel very somber. I feel like there's a weight on my chest. It's definitely a very solemn, grave, heartbreaking book. This one's hard to talk about. It is, I think, very well written. As I was reading it, I was wishing that it would spend more time on the paranormal elements and be creepier. But the further I got in the book, I understood that that wasn't the point. Yes, it's got paranormal elements, but it's ultimately a story about a mother's immense love for her son and what that love compels her to do for him. And even though she makes choices that are calculated and thoughtful, I'm not entirely sure that they're the best or healthiest choices, yet you understand. Because her love for her son is a true, all-encompassing, sacrificial, loving love. I just feel very heavy. And I feel like if you're a parent, it would be even more of a powerful, probably painful and difficult read. But I can't deny that it was incredibly emotional and powerful, and I feel accomplishes the feelings that the author was trying to convey about how a mother can feel about their child. I think it's hard for me to rate something like this, but I think I'm gonna go with 4 stars. I would like to throw in a graphic novel to lighten the mood for a minute. I will probably read The Witch Boy, and I will check back in and let you know when I'm done what my thoughts on it were. I finished The Witch Boy, and that is by Molly Knox Ostertag. And I actually really liked it a lot. I had said in a previous clip that I'm not sure if graphic novels are for me. And actually, you know, I don't think that's true. I think I just need to find the right ones for me. And I think The Witch Boy was definitely in that category. It tells the story of a young boy named Aster, and where he is from, girls are witches and they learn witchcraft and spells, and boys become shapeshifters. Except he is not able to shapeshift yet and isn't interested in it either, yet he has natural gifts towards witchcraft, which is not allowed. When his friends and cousins go missing, he starts to use his natural gifts to figure out what they can do about getting them back and figure out what has taken them in the first place. I thought that the art was so good. I thought that the lines, as in the words that they were sharing with each other, was very well written. It wasn't cheesy, it wasn't unrealistic. I thought it was great all around. They had so many great characters in this, and I really enjoyed reading this. I had a great time with this graphic novel. I would also recommend this for people who enjoyed Cemetery Boys and maybe even Alatsoe. Those two books kind of have magical elements and witchcraft and trying to make your own way with the magic. The main characters, I mean, where everyone is telling them how it should be used or shouldn't be used, and they're doing it to what works, what they know works for them. As an aside, I have this up if you hear sounds or anything in the background. It's like a spooky cemetery-ish area, and if you are not putting on ambiances while you read books, I highly recommend it. I usually try to find ones that match what the book is because it just makes it feel so much more atmospheric, and it really helps with the mood as you read. So when I'm reading spooky books, I put on like spooky things with, you can hear the owl, and sometimes it'll rain and different things like that. So to do so, just look up like spooky ambiance or fall ambiance or any type that you want. Some of my favorite channels are called Autumn Cozy, New Bliss, and Ambiance of Yesteryear. So those channels have a lot of really good ones that don't have ads in the middle of the videos. That's a big thing. You have to find accounts that don't have ads in the middle or else it'll ruin the mood. So, but a lot of times I'll just Google any type of atmosphere. Like I've even looked up ones for on the sea when I would read a book that takes place on a ship. So highly recommend. If you ever hear sounds in the background while I'm doing these check-ins, it's gonna be something like that that's doing it. I had put a lot of things on here thinking I wouldn't be able to get to them all, but I think I'm gonna be able to. I don't know how I'm able to focus so well today. Normally I have a hard time reading a lot in one day, but I guess the shorter stories are working for me. I have to pick out of the two which ones I'm gonna do now. I am gonna actually go with We Have Always Lived in the Castle because I have this one physically and I am really trying to read the books that I have because I have had this on my shelf for so long and I'm so curious what it's about. I think I'm getting to the point where I should stop sitting and reading for so long, so I am going to, well, sit and read, but outside at least in the sun and cool air. I know I should wait longer for a check-in because I'm only 3 pages in, but I was right, and this feels a lot slower than the other books. And on top of that, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. So this will be an interesting one. I'm only 8 pages in, and this is still the first chapter, but it's kind of like there's something going on with this family, the Blackwoods, that the main character, Mary, or I believe is the main character, it seems like we're reading from her perspective, at least in this chapter. She is going into the village to get groceries, and she's describing all of the villagers and the different houses, and there's a line as she's getting groceries where she says, "My Uncle Julian always fancies a roasted lamb in the first spring days. I should not have said it, I knew, and a little gasp went around the store like a scream. I could make them run like rabbits, I thought, if I said to them what I really wanted to, but they would only gather again outside and watch for me there." So there's clearly something with the family, the Blackwoods. She says that it is her and her sister and her Uncle Julian, and the rest of her family is dead. I still am not sure what this book is going to be about, and I don't know why the village seems to be afraid of them, and she hates the village just as much. So I know why everyone is freaked out now about the family, and I don't think I should share it. I tend to share things that might get you to read it, but in this case, even on the inside flaps of this book, they don't say what the plot's about, and I think that's intentional, because going into this book, part of the beginning is not knowing. So I'm getting sleepy now. It is about 5:30. I think I'm gonna go walk on my treadmill and read this book at the same time, and I think I probably won't check in until I'm done. So I'll see you then. Finished. Yay! I am so happy to have finally read this. It is such a magical thing when you have got a book on your shelf for so long and you have no idea what it's about, but it just keeps staring at you, and it's a big question mark. It's a big mystery, and then you finally read it and you know it. You know its contents, you know what it is, and that's such a good feeling. So that's how I feel about We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I finally know what this is, and I have to say it was not what I was expecting at all. The artwork, I think, is fabulous for what the story is, and the most that I should say is that it is very much an everyday life kind of a story where you follow just a few characters. It's a story of seclusion and persecution and the daily life of this now small family. Something that I think is worth mentioning is that this is a book for people who enjoy more intimate, daily life, introspective books. You follow the perspective of the main character, who is named Mary Catherine Blackwood, and she lives with her sister Constance and her uncle Julian. Something very interesting about reading from Mary's perspective is that she is 18 years old, and yet her mind and her behavior completely reads like a child, a very quite young child. She's very superstitious. She believes in magic. She talks about it all the time. The things that she says is, as her sister says, quite silly. And what a mind to be in. She is very much always outside with her cat, and she is very much in nature a lot. You get a lot of descriptions about minute details in the house, in the yard, of her thoughts. This is a book for people who really enjoy spending a lot of time in one setting, such as their house, or in the mind and relationships of specific people, which would be in this case, this family. I had not been sure what genre to put this in initially, and I'm still not sure. I don't think it's quite horror or mystery or thriller. It does have this overlying mystery of something that happened in the past within this household. And it has that mystery, as I was saying at the beginning, of making you wonder what that was that had happened, and now the fallout and consequences and aftermath of that family history. Their normal day-to-day life gets a little disrupted with the arrival of another family member, and that very much does not go well for Mary, who again is a woman, an 18-year-old young woman, but definitely does not read or act or think that way. That being said, I really enjoyed her perspective. I liked her odd thoughts and the little superstitious things that she does and her odd statements and her magic. I just thought that she was quite an interesting character. And then equally, her sister Constance was very much her own person, her own character as well. So honestly, I don't really have anything negative at all to say about this story. I thought that this was a very interesting novella. I need to reread The Haunting of Hill House, Shirley Jackson's arguably most famous. Maybe that and The Lottery are her most famous works. But from what I remember, I did not really enjoy The Haunting of Hill House. Whereas I think the shining part of We've Always Lived in the Castle is the mindset of Mary and how the sisters and uncle are coping with what had happened, and just them going through their day-to-day life. But it does seem to have this almost eeriness. This is such a unique book to me, this story was. I try not to do ratings if I'm not sure, and I think that the more I sit with this, I feel like this story will probably stick with me because you get so in depth with them and their life. And I think that that's the beauty of a story like that, which is very different from, say, if you read fantasy. You have this grand sweeping account of this entire world or kingdom or magic system, and then you have stories like this that go just to the tiny little slice of life that you learn a lot about, but you learn so much about it. And for me, I find that those stick with me a lot because you spend so much time with them. So I had started off today filming this in the morning sun, and now I am at the soft light in the nighttime. It is 11 o'clock. It's a little bit past my bedtime, so unfortunately I didn't get to sour candy. That's okay, because honestly, I read so much more today than I actually even thought that I would. I did not plan on reading Night of the Mannequins as an audiobook. I just threw that in the last minute, and I also did not plan on reading the second graphic novel in the Sheets world, which is called Delicates, but I did because I figured if I read one, I might as well read both. So to recap, I read 3 graphic novels: Sheets, Delicate, and The Witch Boy. My favorite was The Witch Boy by far. I thought that was such a good graphic novel. I listened to the audiobook for Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. As I said, I could not stop the audiobook. I started it and did not stop it. So that one was such a great story to me. And then I read Crossroads. This is a novella that I think you could probably tell from my video, I was a little taken aback. My breath was a little lost. I felt very heavy after reading that book. I think that it definitely accomplished the message that it was trying to get across about what a mother will do for her child. And then finally, the one that I am honestly the most happy to have finally read is We've Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, which I, again, was so pleasantly surprised by. I was definitely not expecting it to be what it was, but I really enjoyed my time with this story. So 3 novellas and 3 graphic novels in one day. For me, that is phenomenal. I wanted to immerse myself in fiction, and I certainly did today.